The story of John Rubel started more than 1 century when my great-grand-uncles arrived in Paris directly from Hungary, and they settled their first workshop in just nearby the Place Vendôme and started designing and producing many iconic pieces for the very famous joaillerie houses. They started working with Van Cleef & Arpels, with Boucheron, with Cartier, with Chaumet, and one of the major clients were Van Cleef & Arpels. They had a long cooperation and collaboration with them until 1939, when Van Cleef asked them if they were ready to move with them in New York in order to expand Van Cleef in the United States. So they were very happy to have this opportunity, and they decided to move to New York and to have another workshop in New York in order to be able to design and producing pieces for Van Cleef & Arpels over there. Let's get back a few years before 1939. The nephew of Jean and Robert Rubel arrived from Hungary in Paris. His name was Marcel Rubel, and is actually my grandfather. And when he arrived in Paris, he decided to work with his uncles into the jewelry business also. So the uncles of my grandfather trained him to the diamond business, to the colorstone business, and to the factory business. When they left in 1939 for New York, they asked my grandfather to run the company in Paris. That's what he did until World War came, and then has been obliged to close the workshop. Meanwhile, in New York, the collaboration with Van Cleef was really very good. They continue designing beautiful pieces for them, and one day they decided to have their own brand and stop the collaboration with Van Cleef. They opened their first shop in the Fifth Avenue in New York, and the name of Jean et Robert Rubel became what is today the name of the brand, John Rubel. They opened their first shop in New York in Fifth Avenue, also in Palm Beach, and then for many years, until mid-50s, they sold a lot of pieces to the American society. But mid-50s, they were getting old. At the same time in France, my grandfather didn't reopen the workshop after the war, but went into the diamond business. And they decided to come back in France, and as they were not anymore in New York to run the business slowed down, decreased slowly, and finally the brand John Rubel fell asleep, while the diamond business in France and Europe became a huge part of our family business. My grandfather didn't want to run a brand and only wanted to continue the diamond business in the diamond industry. He became one of the very famous diamond dealers in the world. And when my grand-uncles died, the brand completely fell asleep definitely. Until the day I discovered, 3 or 4 years ago now, in the attic of my family house, a real treasure. And this treasure was all the archives of John Rubel, very old drawings, very old gouache, very old models. I found also archives from the press, Vogue covers, a lot of articles from the 40s. And as myself, I had all my career in the jewelry industry. I found out that it was the moment for me not to work anymore for the other brands as I used to do, but maybe it was time for me to relaunch this beautiful brand that was still existing among the collectors, as we can still find today many pieces signed John Rubel or Rubel Frères at Sotheby's, at Christie's, at Bonhams, and with a very strong value. So all these elements, the value of vintage pieces, the discovery of the archives, this beautiful history, and my experience in this industry led me to decide to relaunch the brand, and that's the point where we are today. I first edited a beautiful book about John Rubel and his history. Then I fall into the archives to identify what was the DNA of the brand in the mid-40s, keep what I felt was really strong, and starting from that point, I started designing a new collection, tribute to the past, inspired from the past, but really very contemporary, up to date, with his own style, and different from, of course, the other brands.
Sophie, your background is such that, if I understood correctly, you were self-taught. You started selling on Place Vendôme to many different. Then you started working with Fred and with Mauboussin and some really big houses there before you made this decision. How did your own DNA develop through that experience, and how does it fit with your family DNA?
Well, I think when you're a professional and when you work for brands that they are not your brand, your own brand, you have to adapt and you have to be able to understand the DNA of each brand and to propose them what fits to their brand. So this is one first important point, and that's what I did at the beginning of my career when I proposed different styles to Van Cleef, to Boucheron, to Fred. Then when I worked inside these brands, I learned about all the industry. I learned about development, production, marketing, and that's a real strong experience when you want to relaunch a brand. When I identified the DNA of John Rubel, it gave me the opportunity to really express my own creativity and to transmit what I felt was John Rubel DNA to the new collection called Ville Bohème today.
I think one of the real exceptional pieces to me was the work with ballerina and movements, which I noticed they had done for Van Cleef, and then so I imagine that was a John Rubel thing, because under that brand he continued to do ballerinas, and I wonder if that's also something that you're going to be working on, considering you're close to Place Vendôme and Opera.
Definitely. The ballerina was one of the iconic pieces of John Rubel, designed for Van Cleef and for themselves. At that time, in the 40s, usually there was not exclusive product for a brand. When they designed some of the pieces they produced for the big houses, they had also sometimes the possibility to sign them also with their name. And so today, on the auctions at Sotheby's or Christie's, you can see this ballerina signed Van Cleef & Arpels, and also some of them are signed John Rubel. So the ballerina is really part of the DNA of John Rubel, and my tribute to this very strong piece design is today one of our items I call Bleu Carmen, which is a beautiful ring. And you see the tutu of the ballerina, so you can find the tutu of the ballerina around the central stone of this ring named Bleu Carmen. So it's not obvious it's a ballerina, but it's a tribute to, and it's really strongly inspired from these ballerinas.
So now the way you are reintroducing this brand in Paris has been primarily first through pop-ups in art galleries, and you've also been going to ski resorts. And tell us a bit about that. How you...
The way we are organizing the distribution of the selling of John Rubel is with art galleries, trunk shows, pop-up stores. So we want to be very mobile in the way we are selling the pieces, following our clientele. It means where they are, for instance, in Courchevel, we go in Courchevel. When they are in Monaco, we go in Monaco. So we follow the trend of the seasons, and then we organize some little private events over there. It's quite complicated, but the main thing, which is very important, is to have good brand ambassadors who have the clientele, and this clientele of ultra rich people today are happy to have alternative to the other brands that they used to have. The other brands are fantastic. They have, of course, a strong reputation. But today, this clientele is happy to have something new. Each piece we produce are unique. We never do 2 times the same piece, so one customer will not see 2 pieces reproduced. It's impossible with us. And the fact to discover something new is really today really appealing for these people.
Considering that the brand had such a history in New York, I imagine that must be a very important market for you to enter at some point.
Yes.
What's the timing on that, and what's...
Difficult to say the timing because, as you know, the economic situation everywhere is really complicated today. I think first we have to be strong in, let's say, our market. When I say our market, it's not specifically France only, let's say Europe. So maybe first with London, Monaco, Paris, and then when we will be enough strong in these places, I think we will move to New York. But again, it's a question of opportunity. Today, things are going very fast. You don't know how things can move. If we have the chance that a superstar likes one of our products, we can have the chance at that point to go to New York. Everything is possible today with internet.
So if someone in New York wants to attract you there, I suppose if they have the market, let's say, of art collectors or people who appreciate antique pieces or something, that have a knowledge of historical works and of high jewelry, it could be interesting for you to go and do a pop-up in that.
Definitely,
yes.
Definitely. And that's what we did in Canada, for instance. We had the opportunity in Vancouver to meet people who are collectors, actually, and that's what we did. We took a plane, went with the collection, and went there. So today it's not so complicated to move very fast. Our structure is really light, so very easy to take a plane, take the collection, and make presentations.
Now, if I come to you with a stone and a drawing, and I ask you to make it for me, would you refuse, or would you...
No, not at all.
Even if it's ugly, you'll make it for me?
No. But I'm sure you will not ask me something ugly.
No, I mean, I would come to you for your creativity. I'm just testing how far you will go.
We will listen to you, of course, and try to understand what is your demand, what you want, and then we will propose you some drawings, of course, with John Rubel identity. and that can match with your taste and your needs and your budget. The code of the brand, I can say to you, John Rubel is dancing jewelry. Is jewelry very feminine, very elegant. Today the collection is very colorful. Maybe the next collection will be more focused on diamond. I don't know yet. But the main point is that all our stones are really beautiful. And we respect the codes of the high jewelry. It means certified stones, non-heated. And in terms of production, everything is made with the codes of the high jewelry.
And would that also imply ethical metals and traceability of everything, or not necessarily?
Traceability, yes. Ethical metal, not yet. Soon, I hope.